learn the habits of the house across the street the way other boys learn their prayers. By repetition, by observation, and by fear of what might happen if he looked away. It stood at the far end of the block, a narrow thing with a pitched roof and windows that rarely showed light. Its clapboard siding had yellowed with age, and the porch sagged just enough to suggest neglect rather than ruin. It was not the sort of house children were meant to wander about, and yet the boy wandered all the same. The man lived there. He was a stingy sort, the neighbor said. Kept to himself, paid his dues on time, never spoke more than necessary. Walked with the stiffness that made his shadow seem taller than he was. When he passed others on the street, his eyes remained fixed ahead, as though the world had already disappointed him too often to merit attention. The boy watched him from his bedroom window most evenings, the glass cold against his knuckles. From that distance, the man appeared more shape than person, a dark figure crossing the yard, bending to his work, vanishing indoors again. The boy suspected he was a serial killer. Some nights, he sharpened his garden tools beneath the porch lamp, the slow rasp of metal carrying faintly through the air. Some mornings, he sees him come and go from his backyard, wielding a shovel, as though burying something, or rather someone. Other nights, he dragged heavy refuse bags to the curb, their bottoms darkened with damp stains that soaked into the dirt before morning. Once, the boy thought he saw something pale through the torn paper of the sack. He told his parents. His mother, busy with her sewing, told him not to stare. His father laughed and said that old men had always unsettled children, and always would. At school, his friends teased him. The schoolmaster said imagination was a gift best kept in check. No one listened, so the boy kept watch. For a while, the boy began to wonder if he had been wrong. Perhaps the others were right. Perhaps the man was simply old. The boy felt a strange, almost disappointing calm settle over him as the nights passed without incident. He found himself watching less closely. Then just after dusk, when the street lamps were being lit and the air had begun to cool, the scream broke everything open. His earlier calm collapsed beneath the weight of all the nights he had watched, all the things he had tried to reason away, the tools, the stains, the way the man never spoke. If he did nothing now, if he turned away and went back to bed, then whatever had happened would be on him as well. The boy slipped on his boots and eased out the door. He crossed quickly, keeping to the shadows, and crouched near the edge of the man's yard. The grass was damp, slick beneath his palms. From inside the house came the clatter of movement. He crept closer to the front steps just as the door opened. Footsteps followed. The boy held his breath. He imagined the door opening to that face he had studied so many nights from afar. The deep-set eyes, the unsmiling mouth. He braced himself for it, for the moment when the man would see him standing there in the lamp light. The latch turned. The door opened. and it was not the man. A woman stood there. For a long moment, the boy could not understand what he was seeing. For as long as he began his fixation, he never knew the old man had a wife, for he had never seen her outside of the house. She was thin, her hair pulled back hastily, her face pale and drawn. One hand was wrapped in a cloth she held tightly against her side. She looked as startled to see him as he was to see her. "Oh," she said softly. "I'm sorry if I had frightened you." Her voice trembled, but she smiled. "I dropped the pot," she added quickly. "A foolish thing." The woman glanced over her shoulder, then back at the boy. "You must live across the way," she said. "Please, come inside for a moment. You shouldn't be standing out here alone." Every instinct told the boy to run. Instead, he stepped over the threshold. The house smelled of boiled water and iron. The kitchen was orderly to the point of severity, everything in its place. A kettle laid overturned near the stove, steam still curling faintly from its mouth. The woman seated herself carefully and unwrapped her hand just long enough to inspect it before binding it again with practiced movements. The boy noticed how she bit back her breath. She called for the old man to come for dinner. "Howard," she called. From there, heavy, deliberate footsteps came from across the house until he emerged from the dark. "Howard, dear, this is the young man from across the street. What did you say your name was?" "Billy," he said. "Billy," she repeated. "He will be joining us for dinner." Howard gave him a cold stare before seating himself down. They ate in silence, soup and bread, nothing more. The woman apologized too often. Howard barely spoke, his eyes rarely leaving the boy. "You watch from your window," Howard said gently. "I've seen you." The boy stiffened. "You take photos of me whenever I'm outside. Why?" "We worry," the wife added on. "Children shouldn't be left alone with their thoughts." "May I please use the restroom?" the boy reluctantly asked. The man stood. "The restroom's upstairs," he said. The boy nodded and rose. He did not go upstairs. Down the hall, he stopped and found a cellar door that stood at the end of the passage. He opened it and descended. The sight below made his breath catch. A narrow bed, carefully folded sheets, shelves of jars and bandages, bottles labeled in neat handwriting, dark stains stiffening cloth, and blood everywhere. This was it. This is what the old man was hiding all along. Footsteps sounded above. "You shouldn't be here," Howard said from the stairs, his voice sharp now. "I heard her scream," the boy cried. "I know what you are." "You don't understand," Howard said, stepping down. He reached for the boy's arms, but the boy pushed him back. The old man falls back against a shelf, his tools falling on him and stabbing his leg. The boy stumbled backward, striking a lantern. It shattered, oil spilling, flame racing greedily across paper and cloth. Smoke filled the room. The old man tried to get up, but his leg was pinned by the sharp tool, gashing his leg. The wife comes in.
Howard, what's happening? Are you hurt?
"Get out," the man shouted. The boy ran. Behind him, the wife tried to help Howard, coughing, pleading his wife to leave him behind before the ceiling collapses on them both. But it was too late. The fire took the house before morning. Authorities called it an accident. They found no evidence of violence, only records, notes, years of careful care. Overhearing the case, the boy understood who the old man really was. Howard Brown, 58 years old, former surgical orderly, retired due to stiffness in the hands and leg injury. Donna Brown, 47 years old, former seamstress, confined largely to the home in recent years. The house served no unlawful purpose and appears to have been arranged solely for the comfort and care for his wife. There was no serial killer, no one but the boy. He watched as the house was boarded shut. Many years passed. He grew into a man who kept to himself, who sharpened his tools at dusk, who carried his refuse out when the street was empty. One evening, he noticed a young boy across the way, standing at the window, watching him. The old man closed his curtains, and from across the street, pressed against the window, the young boy whispered, "I know what you've done."